Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Pawari. I hope you are doing good today, 2nd November, Friday today. And the good thing is that today's day is going to be an easy day for you guys because the items that we have on our table, they are not that difficult to understand, but that does not mean that you should ignore them, not at all. Right? They are important, but they are easy to understand. Right, so the first one is chalked by smog. This is one of the most important item that we have on our table. We are going to talk about it in detail. I have some additional information as well for you guys, and I'm sure by the end of this discussion you will find that your capacity on this particular thing, on this air pollution, right, will be a bit more in depth. The second item is always a fine balance. Remember yesterday I provided you an infographic on section 7 of RBI Act, and we know that government versus RBI sort of environment is a bit visible in our country, which is sad. So we have to find a fine balance, and that's what this article is talking about. The third one is a catalogue of all that's valuable. It's about these ancient idols that we find in our country, because our country is, a country with one of the oldest, you can say, civilization we have. So naturally we are going to find this sort of items which are immensely valuable, not in just a monetary world, but also in terms of culture and heritage of our country. But the way they are handled, and here we have this case of Tamil Nadu, and from this case of Tamil Nadu we will try to understand the situation of our country. Then we have Patel in bronze. This one is a very interesting article. What it is all about, of course you can understand that it is about this the tallest statue in the world, but we are going to discuss some important things about it as well. Now we have this two article. This one is about politics in Germany, not directly associated with our country, so you can, if you have extra time, go through it. And this one, has the CBI's credibility been compromised? The thing is, yes, it is, right? It is compromised, and this is not the first time. So I'm not that much impressed with this yes, no, and it's complicated article, because it's not about compromise, or this thing that we are finding with CBI's credibility. Of course it is deteriorated, and I would say that most of us, we have lost our faith from CBI, because the way things are going on, and this is not the first occasion, right? Back in time as well, Supreme Court has termed CBI as caged parrot, and we have talked about CBI, and we have talked about the most important thing at present, the need of the hour, is to restore this credibility, and to win the trust of people again, right? CBI should be it should be a free bird. Autonomy should be granted to CBI, and see, we have to keep this thing called checks and balance. But for that, CBI should be reporting to a bipartisan committee, or a high empowered committee, or a high empowered team of a Prime Minister, CJI, Home Minister, Leader of Opposition, eminent persons, if we want to stick them in it as well. So if we do this, something like this, then yes, we can restore the credibility, and operation, day-to-day operation, there should not be any interference when it comes to cadre or personnel working for CBI. They should be cultivated rather than borrowed from some other organization. So these are the steps we need to take, and if we take these steps, then yes, we can sort this CBI out. But as far as this question that credibility is compromised, yes, no, and it's complicated, then definitely it is complicated. But I'm sure the main crux of this whole thing, because we have discussed it already, and I have revised this thing as well for you guys now. Now the good news that I have got for you guys is that flat 60% off is available on our pen drive and tablet courses. This is going to last till 10th November only, so make the most out of it. Check out StudyIQ.com. This is big Diwali sale. Chalked by smog. It's about this air pollution, and this is not the first time that we are discussing this thing. This is not the first time we find air pollution in editorial, or this editorial or article page, and it's not only in the Hindu newspaper. You find discussions going on radio stations. You find discussions on television channels and various different newspapers in various different languages, because this is one of the most you can say severe hazard through which we are going through at present, right? The seriousness or the severity of this thing is is so big that you won't believe this thing. But it was back in 2016, and this is coming from World Health Organization WHO report or study indicates that in 2016, just in 2016, right, children under the age of 5, right, in our country, 1 lakh children died because of air pollution. 1 lakh. Can you believe this thing? This is more than malaria, this is more than tuberculosis, this is more than anything. This is the most, you can say, severe emergency through which we are going. But the way we are tackling this thing is sab chalta hai kind of attitude, this lethargic attitude that is prevalent in various different organization of government. And when it comes to people as well, we do know things, but then as well we are not following it. Now it is a very common thing that if you burn plastic, then it is going to release carbon monoxide, which is dangerous for every one of us, dangerous for environment too. But then as well, now winter is just around the corner, so you'll find in some places, of course in northern part, days have started getting more cold, but in southern part it's coming there. So what we are going to find is they'll have this bonfire everywhere, and you'll find this bonfire is also, it will create pollution, and this bonfire is many times plastic is used for a quick spot fire. So we need to understand this thing as citizens as well. Now the situation of this place, particularly Delhi, is so bad is because of this. One of the reason is this stubble burning. Stubble burning is a big problem for Delhi, and it's not just for Delhi, because Delhi is our national capital. It's quite natural to understand that all these cameras will be focused on Delhi, but there are other places as well in this whole Indo-Gangetic belt, right? Starting from we don't include Pakistan in our country, but Indo-Gangetic belt starts from Pakistan portion. In our country, it starts from Punjab, then you have Haryana, Delhi, parts of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Bay of Bengal. This whole region, right, gets affected of this because of this stubble burning or this agricultural residue. Now farmers are claiming or saying that their excuse is that they don't have enough money to get rid of this stubble, and government did issued warnings, and government is providing happy seeders and other things as well, but some farmers are not ready to wait for it. So we cannot accept this sort of attitude from farmers, right? We do understand the situation and everything, but they cannot indirectly kill someone else in the city area or in this Indo-Gangetic belt. They have to understand, they have to take this responsibility. Now the thing is, if I explain this thing to you in more, you can say, from geographical point of view, then this is a small picture on your screen here. You can see Punjab. These red spots are rough examples of places where stubble burning is going on at present, right? So this is our Delhi. With the help of this example, we will understand the situation of whole Indo-Gangetic belt, and I'm sure it's going to be interesting for you guys as well. Now the thing is, what happens during winter time, right? We know that in this monsoon time, winds are blowing from southwestern direction, right? Remember, this is our peninsular portion, and southwestern winds, they take over the whole country. In winter time, or during the onset of winter, what we find is that winds are blowing from or coming from this northwest direction, predominantly Central Asia, and they are entering our country. And at that point of time, when this stubble burning is going on, what it will do, this winds will carry this smoke with it, right? And then it will be all over this Indo-Gangetic belt. So this is one of the geographical reason behind this severity through which we are going through. Now it's not just stubble burning. We know that there are other things as well, like urban waste is there, diesel chute, vehicular exhaust, road and construction dust is there, power generation, coal-based thermal power production. All these things are adding more and more greenhouse gases and this sort of smoky material in our atmosphere. Now WHO has termed air pollution as new tobacco, right? So the message is clear that the damage that tobacco can tobacco does with our body and other things, or culture as well. In terms of culture as well, it's a thing that we get from our peers. So air pollution is more severe, it's more bad compared to tobacco. And the thing is, tobacco is a matter of choice, isn't it, or a matter of addiction. But this one, you have no sort of way out at all. Now, one more thing that I would like to throw some light on is PM 2.5. I'm sure we have read about, or we do come across this PM 2.5 many a times, but we hardly understand why it is so bad. Now, 2.5 is size of this particulate matter. We have this natural filter system in our nostrils, right, in our respiratory system. So when we breathe, right, we are being advised, and this is a healthy way of living as well, to breathe from the nose, because nose is having this natural filter system. So this natural filter system has small tiny hairs, right? The size of hair in our nostril is somewhere around 70 to 90, right? 70 to 80 or something, right? But this PM 2.5 particle is 2.5 in size. So you can understand there is a huge difference. So basically this PM 2.5 will bypass this filter system that we have, and then it will enter our lungs, and then it will kick all this cardiovascular or lung problems and other lung cancer and other throat irritation and other sort of you can say diseases. So this is the main reason why this PM 2.5 is dangerous. I hope this particular thing is clear to you. Now one more figure or fact that I would like to talk about is this between 2000 to 2010, in this decade, what we find is that premature mortality has gone up by 60% in Delhi. And this premature mortality is taking place because of air pollution. So it's bad, right? Hardly we find any of our cities they are equivalent to the best cities in the world when it comes to air pollution. Most of the time we find that if you go through this various different morning shows, they show you this news shows, right, in television, DD News or something else. And nowadays I don't find time, but I used to watch it a couple of years ago, couple of months ago, when I was not doing Hindi analysis, but now I'm doing Hindi and English, so I don't get time to watch those morning shows. But anyways, what I'm trying to tell you here is that in these morning shows as well, you find this air quality index. You know, they show you all different cities and their air quality. And my experience is that I haven't, right, so far seen a city, big city in our country that is having good air quality prediction, or was having good air quality. So it's all bad, right? Out of 10 most polluted cities, right, 9 are in our country. So this is a thing that we cannot ignore. So many people are dying. We know the way out. We have talked about it many a times. We have to be a bit more green, looking after our environment, thinking not only just about ourselves, but also about someone else as well. And these are the things that we need to do. And on top, right, we need 50-50, both push and pull factor. Push factor should be enforcement, and pull factor should be, caring about nature. So we need both of them to sort out this problem. Moving on to another item, always a fine balance. This is about RBI versus Government of India. Now, the person that you can see on your screen, his name is Y.V. Reddy, very famous governor of our country, governor of RBI. He used to be a former governor, and he was an IAS officer as well. And he was very witty, right? He was very witty. And in one of his program, he phrased this coin. He used this coin called open mouth operation. So it's from open market operation. He came out with this open mouth operation. And open mouth operation, one of the main objective is influence a target audience to behave in a manner favorable to you or your objectives. I hope this thing is clear to you as well. So you say something or you do something just to make sure that this targeted, your operation, or your targeted audience or a particular body or organization behaves in a manner that you want them to behave in. So Dr. Acharya, Viral Acharya, who is Deputy Governor of our country at present, Deputy RBI Governor, and his speech was something similar to open mouth operation, what former RBI Governor, V.Y. Reddy said about this thing. So Dr. Acharya basically said about, he talked about this autonomy of RBI. He said that government should not interfere with RBI's decisions and RBI's operations and things like that. And this thing has kicked this whole debate that is going on around the country at present as far as this financial world is concerned or economical world is concerned. Sentiments of people are a bit down. They are concerned about RBI's autonomy. Finance Minister came out with a statement as well. A Finance Minister has assured that RBI is autonomous in all its way. The only limitation is the limits that are set by government. RBI has to stick within this boundary, and this sounds logical as well. We need checks and balances, right? We cannot have this. We cannot give free hand to RBI, to be honest as well. So we have to find a fine balance. Now, yesterday I provided you an infographic of this section 7. Remember, if this is your first day today, then I will reckon you guys to go through yesterday's lecture and then come back to this discussion. But if you are already following it, then you know that section 7 plus and negative things about it, it's been there since 1935. So far, we haven't used it at all, but exception is last week when this section 7 was used. So what happens with this section 7 is that, see, government is the main body, or government is the main party that will set this limits about RBI's autonomy, or it will draw this Lakshman Rekha for RBI. Now, if RBI is, say for example, generally so far what we have seen is that discussions, may it be bitter discussion, but discussions have sorted out things between both these parties so far, right? But now when technically speaking, if things are not going very well, and if government is of this opinion that RBI should act or head in this direction, and if RBI is not, just in case, then, or even if RBI is going in that direction, if government wants or government feels that enough, this matter requires a sort of stress of this thing, that yes, you have to go towards this direction. So at that point of time, you can use this written directives under section 7, and once these directives are given, then you have to follow it, right? RBI cannot ignore this thing. Now, a book written by V.Y. Reddy, Advice and Dissent. In this book, he talks about, this book is Advice and Dissent, My Life in Public Service. He talks about these 3 important things, right? One is operational issue, the second one is policy matters, and the third one is structural reforms. So in this first operational issues, what he talks about, he says that he believed in total freedom. On the second, right, this one he says that he believes, or when it comes to operational issues, right, there should be complete freedom to RBI in its more day-to-day operation, right? That's what this first item means. So freedom in this thing, complete freedom, yes, it's fine, that's how it should be. Second one is policy matters. Now, policy is a thing you cannot design by yourself. You need brainstorming, you need opinions from various different parties. And when it comes to policy of RBI or economy policy, then of course you need to consult with government as well. You cannot have this policy in silos. So consultation is a good thing here, and that's how it should be. The third is, right, with the help of this 1, 2 and 3, we are also trying to understand what are the things that we need to follow to sort out or to find a fine balance here. So the third one is, when it comes to structural reforms, you can suggest, RBI or a committee can suggest the things that needs to be sorted out, or if we want to make some structural reforms, then what are the things that we need to follow. But when it comes to final decision, it will be taken by the government. So you have to work very closely in close coordination environment with government when it comes to structural reforms. And interacting with government is just like walking on a razor's edge. That's what Y.V. Reddy writes in his book. Now the thing is, this latest tussle between executive and the central bank will eventually end in all probability with a compromise. But the message that we get, or the market will pick up from this thing, is a tussle between RBI and government, which is not healthy. We have just got rank 77. This ease of doing business. So when external things, when things are in our favor, this is the right time that we should get rid of all those negativities, just in case if we have any speed breakers, then then we need to get rid of those speed breakers, and we need to make sure that our average speed or our total speed is at our pace is reasonably good. We cannot take this risk of confrontation. And fine balance is, of course, see, one more thing that I would like to add here is that at the end of the day, it is the government of India that is responsible to people of our country, isn't it? So the final say, as always, it's always, in a democracy, it's always government, and that's how it should be. RBI is more technical, we know, right? RBI is more technical. It will think about long-term reforms, and government will be focused on political brownie points, and this is part and parcel. And the second thing is it will be concerned about short-term items. So yes, we can understand these things, but finally it is government. So government's say should be the final one. And if government wants RBI to head in one particular direction, then RBI can present all these technicalities and everything. But if government is thinking that that's not the right suggestion, the direction should be something else or in some other place, then it has to be followed by RBI should, rather than resisting, it should support government. So that's a fine balance. Understand this thing. It's not about dictatorship. It's about a balance. Remember, we are in democracy, so we need to look at it from this angle. Now, a catalogue of all that's valuable. It's an example, I would say, of Tamil Nadu. Now, Tamil Nadu is a rich feeding ground for ideal thieves and smugglers because of a number of temples we have in Tamil Nadu, number of items that we find from Tamil Nadu and things like that. And this sort of things are quite respected. It's a part of culture of Tamil Nadu as well. A very unique culture in our country, of course. And it's, we find ideals and other things from various different parts or very different parts of our country and various different states as well. Now, very fresh examples that I have for you guys. The first one is coming from Gujarat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's hometown, Vadnagar. Today, if you go through Times of India, you find this item, a news item, that they have found some 2,000-year-old, an idol or something from Gujarat. A second example that I would like to present here is coming from Tamil Nadu itself. 12th century Buddha sculpture is used to tie up cattle in Tamil Nadu, in a village. This is coming from a village. A 12th century Buddhist sculpture that was found from a field. It's there, it's big, so it is used to tie your cows and buffaloes. This is this is a matter of concern. This is a matter of shame as well. It's of course going to impact the religious sentiments of all those Buddhist people, but at the same time it also indicates that how much attention we are giving to our culture and heritage and all those items that are of immense importance. So Chief Justice of Madras High Court, they have constituted a special bench to look after this ideal theft cases. All those cases are dealt by these two judges here. You have a special bench, you have a special idol wing as well of Tamil Nadu Police, and we have the state's Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowments Department. Now the problem is that court did ask this HRNCE to come out with a proper catalog or a list or database where we have important details about all those idols and other things that we have in our in our state of Tamil Nadu, and this applies to the whole nation as well. We need to have this proper database of the items that are missing, the items that we have found, and all these things. There should be a proper computerized data so that it's easy to search and easy to identify and locate just in case. But because we don't have this much of data, and recently Government of India or Cultural Ministry came out with this figure that somewhere around 13-14 lakh items are computerized. But if we go through proper computerized data, we find that it's somewhere around 3 to 4 lakh. So we are not taking this thing that seriously. There is an absence of searchable catalog in our country, and this is a loophole that is exploited by smugglers, because when you don't know about yourself, when you don't know what you have, what you possess, then it's very natural that people are going to exploit it, isn't it? And that's what is happening with these ancient items. Now the last item is about Patel in bronze, and we are going to understand one thing from this particular thing. right? And it's very important from your examination point of view, from your cultivating your character point of view, that see this article here, Patel in bronze, it's criticizing this Statue of Liberty, Statue of Unity, sorry. Statue of Unity is means criticizing not about its shape and things, but it's about overall the necessity of this thing. Means the writer is saying that imagine if this 3,000 crore rupee was spent or invested after this rehabilitation of this tribal people and farmers who were agitating against this Narmada Andolan and things like that. So yes, that's a very logical point here. The thing is, if you are not happy with something, right, as far as your examination is concerned, as far as your character building is concerned, and as far as your life management is concerned, remember always, right, emotions. If you are if you say, for example, if you are not happy with government, and if you are emotionally, if you are saying that this government is bad, then that's not going to help you. Means it's very easy to say this government is bad, or it's easy to say that this government is good, or past government was good or bad, right? Or any other person, or maybe this lecture, or maybe me, or maybe you, etc. Right? So emotional, you can say, sentences are not logical, isn't it? Pure emotional sentences are not logical. They don't have this rationality. So here this article is talking about some logical criticism of this Statue of Unity, and I am not thoroughly agreeing with this writer as well, but I have some of my own views, and I think they are rational and logical. So that's how it should be. I'm just going to give you a small example here, right? I'm not trying to say how great I am. I'm not great at all. There is no difference between you and I, trust me. It's just a small example that I would like to present here. So logical point number one is this one, right? It's a good thing that first we look after all those people who are suffering, right? Then we can have this thing. So that's a point number one, with which I agree. The second thing is, of course, this statues or pictures and photos are, I'm not saying totally waste of time. They are important, but the most important thing is to find ways through which Patel's attitude, lifestyle of simplicity, and his dedication, how we can inculcate these things in ourselves. This is the most important thing that we need to pay attention at, and we need to do everything that is possible to create this sort of sense, this sort of respect, as well as sense of this urge to inculcate this sort of character or good things from Patel's life should be adopted by all of us, isn't it? The third thing is this one, that it is said many a times that he is referred as Iron Man of India, but he was not that rigid. It's not the Iron Man here. The writer is arguing that when you are terming him Iron Man, people are taking him as too harsh and too rigid, but that's not how he was, and that's right as well. I think we do understand this thing, that Patel was not that iron. When we say Iron Man, he was not that stubborn, or he was not that illogical. He was very calm and composed person. So here I think writer's personal opinion is, or personal emotional opinion is getting bit, or personal way of looking at this phrase is coming in between. But I would say that so far, if I say personally, then I have never heard anything aggressive about Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He has never behaved irrationally or aggressively, as far as I know about him. Now the reason why I don't, means this editorial is, or this article is saying that we don't need this thing at all. Now I would say no, politely, because tourism, right now we have placed this particular this statue as well as this region on this global platform, because this is the world's highest statue, right? So we have placed our country in the highest position as far as this tourism is concerned, this sort of tourism is concerned, and we are going to attract millions of people, right? They are going to visit here, domestic as well as international. So it's going to create employment opportunity for so many people. And it's not just about money or economy, it's also about our culture. When people will visit here from different parts of the world and different parts of our country, they will know a bit more about Sardar Patel. They will know a bit more about various different various different phases of our freedom struggle, role played by various different leaders and things like that, which is very healthy for our culture, heritage, for our history, for our present, for our future, as well as in terms of economy as well. It's good. So here are some logical points from my side. So yes, I would say yes, we need it. But at the same time, if we can look after our tribal people who were affected by this rehabilitation, right, that's a totally different thing. So we need to look after them. Yes, that's a necessity. At the same time, we cannot stop ourselves with this sort of projects. Now, let me quickly take you through news items. Supreme Court is not at all happy with vacancies that we find in high courts as well as in lower courts. So it has warned high courts to sort out this matter as soon as possible. Now you can visit Supreme Court on a guided tour. This facility has been inaugurated by our CJI. India has objected and protested against this CPEC Pakistan bus via POK. So that's something that is about which India is not happy about. India hopes for US waiver on Iran. We are just a couple of days away from this deadline. And Mohammad Nasheed ends his exile. We find two infographic, one in editorial page. It's about Naxal influence, where you find this Naxal hubs in our country, core region, right? 35 worst affected LWE region. And then you have this one, vacancies in lower courts. So go through this one. It's about it's associated with this first news item. Dear friends, in terms of economic or financial news, good thing is that GST revenue has crossed 1 lakh crore rupees. You have this whole chart of average is 90,000. It should be more than 1 lakh. That's what we are trying to achieve. And these are your vocabs. Yesterday I asked you a question on this equator. Today's question is highlight 5 physical items, right? Geographical items of South America, famous around the world, right? So 5 items, 5 big things. That's everything in today's discussion. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you all. Jai Hind.